All right, so I'm super excited that this is the very first episode of the Raise Your Game podcast. And I wanted to talk about playing small and just playing a much bigger game because it's really, really close to my heart. So here's the deal. You're playing too small and it's time to go bigger. The thing is this, you want to go big, like you feel the pull. If you want to go big, then you should go big. Go bigger than you ever thought possible. So as you know, I'm the sales and pricing chick. I do sales. I teach people how to charge way more for the work that they do. So I want to play a game with you just to prove a point. What if I told you to raise your prices to $100,000 for whatever the services that you have? You're going to raise your price to $100,000. Boom, whatever thought you just had, the thoughts that come up as you're like, how can I do it? You know, who's going to pay me that much? Whatever thoughts that come up, those are the very thoughts that are stopping you from playing a much bigger game, because I believe that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So start to look at what are the thoughts that came up. So if you're trying to play a much bigger game, I don't care what it is, you're trying to get on bigger stages in your business, you want to get a higher level of client, you want to charge more. Maybe it's not $100,000 more, but you just want to charge more. The same thoughts that stopped you with the 100K are the things that are going to stop you with whatever else it is that you want to do. That's what's stopping you from playing a much bigger game. And guess what? It's rooted in fear. All of those thoughts are rooted in fear and doubt and maybe even lack. So let's talk about playing small and why people typically play small. And you might see yourself or hear yourself in some of the things that I'm talking about right now. So people play small for various reasons. I'm going to break this down to a couple of spots so that you can kind of get an idea of what's holding you back. The number one reason I believe people play small is the environment that they're in. It's other people. You're surrounded by other people who aren't quite doing what you're doing. Just had this conversation with a gentleman the other day. Actually, it was a couple of months ago. We were in a room together and he was sharing how, you know, he was kind of scared to go even bigger than he is right now. He hadn't hit six figures in his business and he was already making more money than his parents. And he was young, like in his 20s. So like, what do you do? And I know so many people who are like that. It's like, I don't want to make more money than my husband. I don't want to make more money than my family. I don't want to be the odd man out. And even if you're not consciously saying it, subconsciously, it could be a thought that's holding you back. You don't want other people to feel bad in your presence. We typically will diminish our power for the comfort of others. We will make ourselves smaller so that we don't stick out like a sore thumb. So if you're around people who are limiting themselves, you'll typically limit yourself. Even if you begin to grow, it's like crabs in a barrel, right? They'll pull you back. There's a lid or a cap. So your environment is one of the things that allows you to play small, or that will cause you to play small. Because we're kind of designed to be in community with people. No one wants to be out alone. If you think back, like caveman days, that was the thing. The thing was, if you were outside of the community, you could die. Like lions could really, not lions, but cougars or whatever, mountain lions, I guess, animals could eat you if you were alone. But if you stayed in the pack and you stayed in the group, then you would be safe. And so what happens when we decide to play a bigger game and we see ourselves being pulled outside of community and outside of that group to the point where we would have to find a new one, we often will stop ourselves and we'll play small because of the environment. The next reason people play small is because of shame or guilt. You're like, nah, I don't feel guilty about having a lot of money, playing a bigger game, living in a better house, driving a better car, whatever playing big would look like for you. Again, we hold back to appease other people and other people's ego. So we might have a little bit of shame about, again, making more money than a family member, being on television when other people aren't. I did a couple of things in the past year. One is I bought my first pair of Louboutins. I don't have them in here. I should have brought them so I could show you guys. But Louboutins are the red bottoms, not Louis Vuittons, but Louboutins. I bought my first pair of red bottom shoes, Christian Louboutins. And for 2 months, I never told a single soul. Now, I was super excited when the box came. The box came to my house because they had to mail them to me. It was beautiful. I unwrapped it. I took video. I took pictures. But that was just for me. And I realized there was shame around spending that much money on shoes, even though I could. Right? I didn't want people to look at me as bragging. I didn't want, family members to see that I had enough money to spend on shoes. There was like this guilt and shame around what you were doing. There's starving children in Africa, Shameca. Why are you spending that much money on a pair of shoes? And so I finally came out of the success closet and shared, and so many other people wrote back to me, commented on my video, and shared with me that they have the same problem. Like they would go invest in something and they would secretly do it because they wouldn't want to tell other people. So we're growing, right? We're growing in the revenue we're creating in our business. I'm growing. I'm growing where I'm investing in a different level of experience for myself. I take a car to and from the airport every single time. I didn't used to do that. I used to drive myself. I used to park my car, used to Uber, all of those things, but I take a private black car most of the time. So as I'm growing in experiences, I realize that I will often put a cap on what I think I could do because I have guilt or shame about how other people might see me. So environment and guilt or shame are the number one reasons. Environment, shame, and guilt are the number one reasons why people play small. And in a minute, I'm going to read a poem by Marianne Williamson. And I just want you to sit back and think about it because this is how you're going to grow. So how do you stop playing small? You own your freaking power. You have to own your power. So let's talk about power for a minute, because even that word has crazy definitions to it. High achievers, if you're like me, you're a high achiever. You're used to winning. You're used to going big. But again, you play a little bit smaller than you know. Like, here's why I say that. If you're a high achiever, you're the kind of person where you could barely skate by and it blows everybody else out of the water. You're the type of person who wrote their papers in high school and college the night before and still got an A, right? So your level 6 is everybody else's level 10. Some of your level 3s is everybody else's level 10. So to the outside world, they're clapping it up. You're doing amazing, but you're not accomplishing anywhere near what you're capable of. So here's the thing with high achievers. You're also the kind of person where back in the day, or maybe even now, people tell you to give other people a turn, right? Let's give somebody else a chance because you're always winning. You always know the right answer. You always get chosen for things. And so what happens is we begin to diminish our power because we don't like the feeling of people telling us to tone it down, slow it down, give other people a chance. And so we start to take inside of ourselves that we're doing something wrong. We have to heal our relationship to our own power. And when we play small, all we're doing is giving our power away. I've learned that it's none of my business how other people see me. It's none of my business how someone else experiences my power, as long as I'm not stepping over people. Because here's the deal. Every time you play small, you are giving your power away. You're giving it away freely. You're allowing it to leak. You're allowing people to drink from it like it's a fire hose without restriction. And why do we do that? We do that because we actually fear our own power. We fear it. There's so much baggage around this word. So I want to clarify a few things about the word power. Power is not manipulation. It's not control. It's not something that can be taken or stolen from you unwillingly. If you are allowing your power, you're not in your power, it means you're willing participants of giving it away. So these are all things that are based in fear and not in power. And so I'm going to give you a few tips on how to stop playing small and how to take your power back. But before I do that, I want to read this quote by Marianne Williamson because I believe that it's super powerful. Okay, so Marianne writes, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's not our light. Sorry, not it's not. It is our light. I'm listening to myself. I'm like, that's not true. It is our light. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure or inadequate around you. We're all meant to shine as children do. It's not just some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So again, as high achievers, we have to heal our relationship to power and understand that our power is how we reach more people. Our power, being completely in our power, is how we play a much bigger game. So I'm going to give you 3 tips today to kick this thing off on how you stop playing small, right? The first step in this is to disrupt the fear, that fear of judgment, that fear of being told to sit down and, shrink a little bit, being told by other people you're taking over, all kinds of things. You have to disrupt that fear by taking more bold action, because action cures fear. So I'm going to tell you to go big or go home. Remember, if you want to go bigger, go bigger. So what are the areas that you want to stop playing small in? Think about that. Write it down. And then what's the biggest, boldest action that you can take? And it's usually the first one where you go, no, 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 not that one. That one that comes up and you're like, oh, I can't do that. Do that. Seriously, do that. Take the biggest, boldest action that you can take. The action has to be in alignment with the desired results. So let me give you an example. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. A few years ago, I think 3 years ago it was, I didn't have a passport. And I knew I needed to get my passport, but I have some issues. I had some issues with my birth certificate and a bunch of paperwork and stuff that would preclude me from doing it. That's why I didn't have my passport all this time. I was in a mastermind and we were going to London. And so my coach was like, hey, you just need to get that passport, get it done. It's happening in April. And so long story short, a lot of back and forth happened. The application didn't get approved. It got mailed back to me. So I ended up going down to the passport office like 3 days in a row. So this was like the week before we were supposed to go to London. And here's what happened. I actually had my room booked. My flight was paid for. I was moving forward as if it was done. The day before my flight was due to leave is when my passport got stamped. The action that you take to break the back of fear and to step into playing a bigger game must be in alignment and trust with the result that you want. That's one story. I write for Forbes. Here's another story. I write for Forbes, right? I write for Forbes magazine online. And when I first signed up, I would get all these messages from people that would ask me questions like, how do you like it? I heard that it's this or that. And they were all kind of negative, and they were justifying to me why they were kind of fearful of stepping into it. Now, writing for Forbes has been one of the highlights of my life. It's one of the incredible opportunities. I get lots of clients who read Forbes magazine and then start to follow me. So it's been a blessing in my life. Here's the difference between me and those people who were sending me those messages. The difference between me and them is that I actually applied to be a writer for Forbes. They were still trying to get information on the outside about it. They weren't ready for that next level. They weren't ready to play a bigger game. They weren't really ready to risk, right? So the action has to be a risk, a bigger game. Now, here's the deal. I'm not perfect. There was a time I can vividly remember where I wouldn't have even applied. I would have seen it, saw that I qualified, and thought, I would have taken myself out of the game. When you're playing small, oftentimes that's what you do. So what action can you take that scares the hell out of you? What big, bold action can you take that will help you to disrupt fear? That's what I want you to do, okay? So take action that disrupts fear. Step number 2, you got to trust yourself, boo. Here's the thing. If you're anything like me, you've had setbacks, failures, disappointments. And those setbacks, failures, and disappointments over time can siphon your confidence in yourself, your trust in yourself. There was a time where I believed I could do anything, especially in my younger years. And over time of trying and failing and trying again and failing and trying again and failing, my confidence started to waver. My knees started to get a little shaky. My risk-taking muscle was diminished. And so my trust in myself was lost. I didn't trust that I can get the job done. And here's the other thing. Visionaries are often ridiculed and shamed and misunderstood. And it's why you secretly doubt yourself. You know, people telling you to tone it down, be quiet, not yet, not your turn. You're never going to be able to do that. I had somebody tell me that one time about living. I was driving in a neighborhood and I said, I want to drive this neighborhood. I want to look at houses over here because I want to live somewhere like this one day. And they said, you'll never live any place like that. So funny. I did end up living somewhere like that. And I would always think about that conversation. But because of these types of experiences, you actually secretly begin to doubt yourself way too much. Now, you never tell a soul that you doubted yourself, and you don't really believe outwardly you're confident. But it's those subtle secret doubts in your quiet places where you go, I'm just going to do a little bit of this and not a whole lot of that. You got to learn how to trust yourself again. You got to build that trust in yourself and take risk. Trust yourself to rise. Like I said, when I was a kid and in my 20s, I just trusted. I just trusted it would be, you know, I trusted myself. I trusted that if I went out to go do a thing or set out to do a thing, it would happen. When I sit in this chair that I'm sitting in right now, when I sit down, I trust that the chair is going to be there. You got to learn to trust yourself in that way. Trust yourself in that way. The best foundation for playing a bigger game and not playing small is confidence in yourself, certainty in your work, true belief in your ability to get stuff done, trusting your own gut, and like knowing in your knower that you got this. Right? So the second step you want to do is you want to trust you, not other people, not the gurus out there, not, you know, what the internet is saying, all of those things, but really trust yourself, trust your gut, trust your knower. Trust that you have the answer. Trust that your ideas are worthwhile. Trust that when you feel that it's time to raise your prices, it's time. When it's time to apply for a TEDx talk, it's time. Trust yourself. You don't have to ask other people for their opinions. And last but not least, find support. Because while everything I said is great, like take bold action, trust in yourself, there's going to come a time where your legs are going to be wobbly and shaky and you're not going to be able to do it. And if you can have support of the people around you who believe in you, who think like you, who are taking big, bold risks like you, and mirroring back that belief to you when you have those moments of doubt, allowing you to borrow their belief, or you're watching them soar and watching them take bold actions and it's working out, that's going to put confidence back in you. So you want to tap into that kind of support system and surround yourself with people who are also actively working and aspiring to be and do better. That's going to propel your business to the next level. That's going to propel your game to the next level while bolstering your confidence. Ultimately, it's going to manage those fears and those doubts. Because doing that, playing a bigger game, it takes practice, it's a process, and it takes a supportive community. So if you take these 3 steps that I just gave you, playing a much bigger game is going to become second nature. Every time it's time to rise to the next level, it's going to become second nature to you. That's the equation. That's it. That's the equation of playing a much bigger game. Action, bold action, confidence, certainty, belief, trust, and support. That's going to equal whatever level of success you choose to have. All right, well, that's a wrap, and I'll see you next time on the Raise Your Game podcast. Thank you so much for watching my show, my channel. Here's what I want you to do. If you really love what you've been listening to, I want you to subscribe to my channel and leave me a comment. No, really, leave a comment, like right now. I'm not gonna stop talking until you leave a comment. Seriously, leave a comment.